Senator from Taylor,
Speak on the bill, Mr. President.
please proceed.
Mr. President, as most people know, outside of the legislature, also I'm a college professor teaching graduate classes at the University of Kentucky, and was in the middle of the semester as the pandemic hit, like we all were here with legislative session. And I've got some of the best and brightest students from all across the country. You can name them all, from in-state, Centre College, Transylvania, out-of-state, Vanderbilt, West Point Military Academy. And the class I was teaching was Analytic Methods for Intelligence Analysis. And the students I have are future problem solvers. They're going to be ones that are going to solve a crisis, maybe working for the CIA, the FBI. They want to work intelligence. One of the issues we looked at as the pandemic was hitting was the virus, which we know now as COVID-19, as it was in China and it was starting to make its way throughout China and possibly overseas. And I had all the students come up with, what's the plan? Had them come up with, what would you do? What's this going to look like? When's this going to end? And the students did a remarkable job, but every one of them failed. I did not give them F's for the grade or for the assignment, but most of them thought that it would never be like we thought it would be. It would never get to the U.S. to shut us down like it did. And I think we all know by looking at it, even as legislators, we were here last session, and when we were trying to do what we did, and I commend our leadership and the House leadership and members of this chamber for making budgetary decisions that we had to do. And I also remember shifting to also being a parent of having a child who was a junior in high school, who at the time of this was having to shut down her studies, just like many other students. I think everyone in here has got a child or grandchild or knows of a child that's been in the school systems at this time. And I told my daughter, I hate it for your senior classmates, even though you're a junior. I ended up writing an op-ed where I said the students that were seniors last year deserved a mulligan, because I didn't think, Mr. President, this current senior class would also need another mulligan. And what we're doing here with this piece of legislation, when we look at this, I don't think it's stripping so much power away from the governor. I offer the governor grace. I've said that before many times. I've even offered the governor a plan back in May, reopening schools in a safe way that maybe we can do that. Instead of a small task force, Senator from Fayette 13 and I were put on a group that I think had 96 plus people on it as a task force, which I don't think that was the answer. You've got a lot of members trying to throw out different ideas. It's different than having a 13-person task force, but so be it. But I want to focus on where we're at right now with our state. And people have touched on so many things of unemployment and so many issues of businesses. We don't know the extent of what it's going to play in the next couple of years, but we need to also focus on the now, and that's been education. And as a Senate Education Committee Chairman, I think it is my duty to speak at where we're at right now, because everything else seems to be in our state that we have pushed through. We're trying to get ahead, but education is still stuck in neutral. We're still in the mud. It's been stop, start, touch, and go, and we're not getting ahead. And I think this piece of legislation would help so much in future pandemic states of emergency to allow us, as we look at the educational sector, to allow schools to push through and proceed. We had a timeline earlier. I think it was mentioned that we're in the middle of a pandemic. Are we in the middle? Who knows when it's going to end? We're here right now at this time to be able to make a major decision that can affect so many families and especially affect so many students that don't have to go through this in a future pandemic or a future state of emergency. My children have been through every type of learning mechanism we've had. In person, hybrid, 2 days a week, 3 days off, virtual only, and now trying to get back to some form of a hybrid system. So we've seen everything. Our teachers are doing a fantastic job with the situations they're under. We heard from 4 remarkable educators today about innovations that they're doing, struggles that they've had to overcome. But I don't know if the vaccine's the answer. I don't know what the answer is going to be, but I do know the answer is when we have constituents pleading and begging for us to do something about this, to allow superintendents to make the decision to open their schools, which they were doing during this summer and ready to go and had a plan when school was supposed to start, but then it was told, no, you're going to stop. Some schools haven't been in session at all for in-person learning. We don't know the true effects of what this pandemic has caused to our K through 12 students. We'll have data that's going to come in months, maybe years, but we know some societal problems. We know of the summer slide, but we don't know about the COVID-19 slide of what that has done to so many families out there. So I think this legislation does give the guardrails and the safety mechanisms in place that if this were to happen, we can help those educational institutions get on the right track. I appreciate the Senator from Davies for his work on this, and I appreciate the conversations today. I appreciate my friend from Jefferson 19 and others who have given their words today. And like you mentioned earlier, Mr. President, these are words. It's also a time of grace, and I thank you.